Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm your host. And joining me, as always, so I go to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how's it going?
Oh, Jimmy, it's going pretty darn well, I tell you what. If I was to say, honey, where's my super suit?
I would say, why do you need to know? That's right. We're talking, we got a lot of things to talk about. We're just jump right into it. You guys have been here. It's 101 episodes. If you don't know what we are by now, then we failed you.
Just
but anyway.
Like
was it like the, oh yeah, like the Dalmatians. Oh, we should have done a Dalmatian. Oh, I should have done the animal thing and then done Dalmatians. Missed opportunities.
No.
Well, we'll just have to start it over. We're going to reboot
Lessons
the
learned, hindsight 2020.
Anyway, Incredibles 2 trailer, because we talk movies, games, TV shows, all that stuff, but we want to talk about Incredibles 2. Now, Incredibles 2, Joe, I've been excited about this movie for a long time, and I really love the first Incredibles. It's my favorite Pixar film. I think it's one of the best superhero films out there, and I think it's like the best Fantastic Four film out there, because it's like a superhero family that focuses on the family aspect. They all just have superpowers. So from this trailer, which by the way, if you haven't watched this, guys, you should probably watch it because they're going to spoil some stuff, unless you can skip ahead to the times like stamps if you don't want to see this, but kind of focuses on a different kind of part of the story where Bob is like a stay-at-home dad now, and his wife Elastigirl or Mrs. Incredible is going to go out and do all the superhero work, and he's having issues staying at home with Jack, whose powers seem almost limitless. Now, from this premise alone, Joe, are you interested in the setup at the very least?
The plot, the storyline, all that, it just lends itself to hitting the funny bone. I think all I would be excited for here is, well, I mean, you got the superpowers and everything that lends itself well to setting up for comedic moments and, you know, being humorous. But the trailer flat out, I mean, it's kind of boom, 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 boom. Here's a laugh, here's a laugh, here's a laugh. And I feel like that's kind of where they, you know, stand on their pedestal is with the humor.
Yeah, well, exactly. They excel. Like the first time we saw a teaser for the very first Incredibles, it was like him in a room, Mr. Incredible, trying to get a belt on. Like, because he was too fat, and that's like a scene that's not really in the movie at all. But like that right there, like him going through like a midlife crisis, and he's like kind of too big, and it's something that superhero films don't really tackle very much. Is kind of a little more of kind of a reality to a situation.
Sure, like a more realistic approach. Like he may have powers, but he's a real person, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's super
strong.
This
is animated, but
yeah, exactly. But he's like, he could still get fat. You know, like he could still like, you know, gain a bunch of weight, which, by the way, one of the best montages for a workout routine ever is in that movie where he's just like, he's working out in the train yard. He's just like picking up freight trains. Then he'll kind of throw it off to the side when a train goes by. He's like, hey, how's it going? You know, yeah, but I'm excited about it. I want to see a little bit more. Obviously, I want to see the whole movie, but I'm already sold. It's coming out in June, I believe, which is kind of a big month, but
always
Joe,
is. My birthday's right there.
I know it is. Are you interested? Because I know you're not a huge animation fan. Like, will you see this? Do you want to see this, or are you kind of like, it's not for me?
You know, it's probably something I would give a watch if it was like on Netflix or rentable.
Okay, perfect. So I'll force you to go see it. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not. You know, I'm not really going to the theater for it. I don't think. I just animated movies. I get that they're good, and you know, I've caught blurbs of one here and there on TV, kind of a deal. They're entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but I like something with real life people in it. I guess it's just how my tastes have kind of developed over time. But I can appreciate from afar. You know,
sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll be there probably day one because I can't wait. I also like the villain in the last one. It's just like I'm interested to see like what we haven't even shown the villain yet, which is cool because like usually in these types of things, like for superhero movies, you're like, all right, I know who the heroes are, but who's the bad guy? And it looks like they're picking up like immediately after the first one, which is kind of cool with the Underminer, this kind of mole guy in the parking lot after like a track and field day. It's like, I love that because it's like there's no time has passed. It's just like, even though I still would love to see those kids like in their 20s, you know, like all of them, but Jack would be like super powered, and it's kind of like a Maggie Simpson situation where it's like can't really talk, but might have stuff going on. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I want to know what everybody else thinks. If you guys are excited about this one, is it your favorite? Like, is Incredibles your favorite Pixar, franchise? I don't think a lot of people would say that it is, but for me, it totally is. Also, Brad Bird's back, directed the first one, and he also directed Ghost Protocol, like the best Mission Impossible film. The music, I think Michael Giacchino, I don't know. I think that's back. It all looks great. Can't wait. And Samuel Jackson, which by the way, guy's grown on me in recent years. Like in this trailer too, he's really good. He's just always like, Tycoon, talk to me about some hero stuff. It's like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, he kind of plays that part well. It's a good character for him.
He's been campaigning to come back to this. He's like, I wanted the Incredibles to come back, and I think he plays like really well off of Bob, Mr. Incredible, kind of like his buddy was like, hey, we could get back into the golden days, we could do it together, kind of like nudging him all the time. And he's like, yeah, we totally should,
Listen here, Bob, I'm sick of these Monday to Friday snakes I'm sick of this monkey. I'm sick of these monkey flying snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
If we could only insert that joke into Incredibles in a natural way, I mean,
it could be cool.
Be 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Bob and Frozone. What's his name? Frozone?
Yeah, Frozone. Very good.
Yeah. They're on a plane. They're flying to Daytona to watch NASCAR race. The boys' weekend. And some guy lets a bunch of snakes loose on the plane. So of course, Frozone, he's got to freeze them. Mr. Incredible is strangling them and ripping them in half. And Frozone's just like, I am sick of these monkey flying snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
Perfect. That's
incredible. It writes itself.
Yeah.
It writes itself.
Yeah. At least a sequence. That could be either the next film or just a scene. Doesn't matter to us. Pixar, Disney, we're basically writing this movie for you, even if you've already done that, which you more likely have.
Yeah, more likely. But it could just be like a cutscene. Like, hey, Bob, remember that time we went to the Daytona race down there? Yeah, remember the plane ride? Ooh. Cutscene.
Yeah, it cuts back. They could do that.
It has nothing to do with anything. Just a little, hey, Bob, remember that day we went to the Daytona 500? It was a big, nice plane ride, huh?
Yeah. That reminds me. It reminds me of like when they talk about the golden age in the first movie, which it reminds me too of like Batman vs Superman. That movie's all about like holding heroes accountable. In that movie, they're doing it before that, because in that one, Mr. Incredible has just like a really bad night, but he saves this guy from jumping off a building. And spoiler alert, he lives, but the guy sues him. And it shows Mr. Incredible. He's like, I saved your life. The guy's like, I didn't want to be saved. And I was like, man, if superheroes existed today, that stuff would happen constantly. Like superheroes would have to have another like an alter ego, a secret identity, because people would be coming after him all the time for money. They'd be like, how dare you do this? And you're like, I'm sorry, friend. All right.
Who made you the judge, jury, and savior?
Yeah. Perfect. Good. Speaking of things that we don't want to see anymore, no, I'm just kidding. I love Incredibles. I was trying to find a better segue. Things we don't want to save. There we go. Things that shouldn't be saved. Transformers is getting a reboot. Reportedly.
Oh, man.
One of the greatest film franchises we've ever seen, ever, and it's getting rebooted. No, so apparently, Joe, after they do Bumblebee this year, this kind of standalone set in the 1980s movie, they're gonna reboot the whole thing, which that's fine. I think Bumblebee would have been a good jumping point to start your new one, but I think maybe it's because Bumblebee, they're using that design, that model, and they can't really like redo Bumblebee completely at this point. They can't like push that movie way back. But we talked about Transformers here on the show. They've had 5 movies, all directed by Michael Bay. I don't know, at this point I think that's totally fine. I'm not gonna miss that mythos, that crazy, just dumb, stupid advertising and all. I just can't. That last movie was, oh boy, it hurt me so much. But Joe, how do you feel about a reboot? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you care?
Here's the thing. I garner some entertainment out of all of the Transformer movies, but by no means do I feel that they are all good.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like Fast and Furious to me. I garner entertainment, some value out of it, but I know like the whole time I'm like,
who cares?
Yeah.
But I look back and I'm like, okay, the first 2 were okay, then we hit that 3rd one and the 4th one and the 5th one, and I was just like, man, You're grasping at straws here, guys. I think they're making money,
Oh,
but
tons of money.
yeah, tons of money. But I feel like as far as like quality films go, they were grasping at anything and everything they could in order to keep it going.
Yep.
Like I feel like the story kind of runs out there. Obviously, there was an animated show and all that. So I feel like it's almost like Marvel. You've got all that to draw upon. You probably could make it go forever. But the thing is with real life actors and everything, um, you kind of run out of, you can't keep the humans relative.
Sure.
And that's probably one of the biggest issues we have with it. The first couple movies with Sam Witwicky, it kind of worked out okay, and it made sense. I liked when he was in high school, he went to college, and he was still like, Bumblebee was with him and all that, and kind of cool. Okay, it worked out. But then you just start getting like, okay, we gotta find some way to make the humans relative to the story. Like, yeah, how are they gonna fight the robots now? For a while the military thing worked for them, and I think it still kind of does. But then like not Matt Damon. Oh my God,
Well,
Mark close. Mark Wahlberg. No, like why? Why? I just don't care.
he's the perfect Bostonian scientist who lives in Texas. Like when you think to yourself, if I have to cast a scientist who lives in a barn in Texas, I think immediately Mark Wahlberg. I think he's perfect. No, you're totally right.
I thought Arnold Schwarzenegger, but whatever.
I would love it if they just went completely off the rails and just made him like just the main star, and he's like, "We have to get the cube out of here." Like I
get into the chopper.
Oh my gosh, he would eat it up. I think
Optimus.
You make a good point about relevance with the characters, because I think that's the term you're basically going for here. Is like, how do you make the humans relevant to the storyline? Because like you're right, because they seem so interchangeable, or they could potentially be. Now the theory is, Joe, that they might make a combined universe with not just the Transformers, but like the GI Joes. So if you want to take that military aspect and crank it up to like 11, you put a bunch of super soldiers in there that are like the GI Joe guys, and you put them in the world, and you have them team up, which makes a lot of sense to me, because then you're like, oh yeah, I've got Snake Eyes here who's helping out the Transformers, but he's not going to be fighting. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Who are we fighting?
I don't know. Megatron and Cobra Commander? It seemed like they're working together. I don't know.
Freaking ridiculous, man. Like a mashup. That's like mixing your Jello with your mashed potatoes. It ain't right.
If it happens, I'm just saying it could be crazy. And I think those G.I. Joe films are fine. They're okay. What? I mean, the G.I. Joe films, haven't you seen those, Joe?
Yeah, I saw the one where Snake Eyes and the girl, right? They're like on the cliffs and
oh yeah,
whatever, and they're trying to get the white ninja dude.
Yes, Storm Shadow. Yep, I know these things.
Shadows
only a little bit.
White. Okay.
Okay. The shadow of a storm is white. All right.
Okay.
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
No, they're not.
They couldn't make him have like black attire, like, because it'd be those two guys fighting, Snake Eyes and.
I know, you get confused. It'd be a whole thing. Yeah.
Side note: I did see the guy who plays Snake Eyes. I think his name is Ray Park, the guy who also plays Darth Maul. I saw him live perform. They did like a kind of a Q&A with him, and he also did a few stunts. And I was like, oh, that was so cool to see that guy. Like, I was like, yeah, he was good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the G.I. Joe films are horrible. I don't know how they relate to Transformers. Can you shed some light on that? I don't get it.
I think it was like a Paramount, like they owned all the movie rights to them, and it was all under like the same like toy brand.
Hasbro?
Maybe that's it. Yeah, and I know it sounds a little confusing, but honestly, I'd rather have the G.I. Joes in there. Like, I like Josh Duhamel. Tyrese is fine, but like those other military guys, they had a few moments like in Transformers 3 where they kind of would like land and use like parachutes to like, blind the Decepticons and then shoot them. That's kind of cool, but like a G.I. Joe would make a lot more sense to be like the only human who would survive like 5 seconds in and amongst like the Transformers, because like everybody else should be dead. You'd be like, oh, that person's dead, that person's dead. So if they do that, I'm fine with it. It just seems like that kind of takes the wind out of the sails of this Bumblebee movie, because you're like, well, now I'm watching a prequel to a universe that isn't going to exist anymore. It's like, okay, like,
Yeah, they made money on it, and they're like, we can't get rid of Transformers. We can't let it end. We
Yeah.
can't let it end.
Yeah.
You know, here's the thing. Why reboot it there? Why not, like, wait for another generation and reboot it then? Like,
I think it's more of like a shelf life thing where they think like we can't just have this IP collect dust right now. Plus, some of the voice actors, especially for Optimus, like he's getting pretty old, so I'm sure they want to keep him around and have him say stuff. And listening to this other podcast, and they said, they're saying this. It's funny because this guy almost doesn't make sense to play Optimus anymore because he did the voice work back on like the 1980s cartoon, and he himself has even said these lines are a little bit different. It's not his fault, Peter Cullen's fault for what he has to say, but he's like, I'll kill all of you. It's like Optimus used to be like noble and kind of quiet and respectful, not as like bloodthirsty as he's become in the Michael Bay.
I like the bloodthirstiness. Like Optimus is supposed to be like not the baddest of the bad, but like, you know, the toughest of the tough.
Yeah.
And like I want him to be able to rip a Decepticon in half, right? And I mean, leading up to that point, he should be saying, "I'll kill all of you."
I just like hearing him say like, "I'll take you all on." I like him being in between like the Autobots and the Decepticons, where he's like, "All right, you know, we'll protect the humans and all this," and then when it comes to a fight, they're like, "Oh my god, it's Optimus Prime! Like, we got to get out of here," because he's like, I'll kill every single Decepticon." Like, I like it. Maybe I'm the problem, but I guess if they keep shooting these movies in China, they could potentially just keep making them forever because you just got to do that, and it just sells like crazy. Anyway, I think it's time for a reboot, and I think that's totally fine. I don't really care about that franchise anymore. This last one, the last night, was rough. It was very difficult to watch. So
yeah, for a little bit there, it was just, you know, entertainment via watching explosions and cool cars rev their engines, and, you know, every once in a while a pretty model. But that's lost its luster a little bit. So,
well, you can watch my review right over here. You can see it was the worst movie I saw last year, and it was really painful. Oh my goodness! All right,
I did like that Lambo though.
Yeah,
Woo-hoo.
I will never ever forget Anthony Hopkins saying that it was.
It's a bitchin' ride.
Yep, exact. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, Anthony Hopkins.
What? So Anthony Hopkins can't respect cars?
No, he can, but he should do it in a respectful manner, you know. But like his character was just expositional dialogue.
Yeah, he was a little zany.
Oh, he's too zany for me. Ugh. You know what I like? I like him in Mission Impossible 2. I know not a very popular film, but he's great though. He's great, and I don't know. I love him. Except for that. Also, really good Odin. Great Odin. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. So, you know, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World 2 is coming up here in June. They've already announced Jurassic World 3 set to release on June 11th, 2021. Joe, not surprised.
How long has it been since we saw Jurassic World 1?
That was 2 years ago? Coming up on 2 years ago? Yeah. I think so. Wait, was it? I'm going to do a live fact check. Hold on. Let me check.
Yeah, because I'm trying to see, is it 3 years between each film, or has it been 2?
I think it was only 2.
Because now we're looking at another 3-year gap between Jurassic World.
Oh, no, you're right. It was 3. My bad. It was 2015.
So every 3 years we expect a new Jurassic World film.
No.
Every 3 years we expect a new mutated hybrid that they created in a test tube, and it wreaks havoc in some location.
Joe. What have those scientists cooked up in that lab? What have they been cooking up in the crock pots?
You put it on low heat and let simmer for about 12 hours.
Or 3 years. Oh, I gotcha.
I ruined the joke.
That's okay.
That would have been perfect, too. That would have been perfect.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm not completely surprised. It just seems a little odd to announce that like a few months before this film comes out. Like I'd wait till like maybe August or maybe around the DVD release of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and then say, hey guys, guess what? Like, you know, regardless of how well that one's going to do, we're making a trilogy. Because right now, you know, a lot of people just suspect that Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard would come back for their roles in that one as well. Kind of undercuts some of the kind of tension that this movie might or might not have. So I'm not sure. This movie seems like it's going to be pretty different than the first one, so I have no idea what to expect in the next Jurassic World.
Neither do I. Until we see more, I don't even know if I want to speculate on it.
Yeah, no, I just kind of I. It's weird to like. I get kind of like not angry, but like frustrated that they give us like a release date for this. But like with Marvel movies, I'm like, oh, cool, they can announce like the next ones for like 8 or 10 years or whatever, and I'm like, great, you know. So it's like, why is that? You know, is it because I don't like the world of Jurassic World so much and I don't really care about the characters? Maybe that's it. Like I don't. It just seemed like pretty interchangeable. Like at this point, like if they kill Chris Pratt in this movie, I'm not gonna be like, no, no, Star Lord. You know, I'll just be like, whatever. Like
I'll see him in the Marvel movie next week.
exactly. Yeah, get Sam Neill, get Alan Grant back. If you could do anything, get Alan Grant back because he was like one of the reasons I love that first movie so much. Is I loved him so much. Like he's so great. He's just like, I don't want to be here. Like he's just like, this is a bad idea, and I just love
Dude,
that guy.
that would be so cool. Like I would almost respect and love that more if they had Sam Neill, Alan Grant featured in this next one. I would so much more over Jeff Goldblum. Like I like Jeff Goldblum and all that, but I just don't feel like he's not as high on the pedestal for me as Sam Neill.
Yeah, definitely. We'd heard rumors that Sam Neill was on set potentially. I'm not sure if that means he shot anything, but you're right. It doesn't seem to hold the same because Ian Malcolm wasn't the main character in that film. You know, the dinosaurs were, but Alan Grant's kind of next up.
You're not as attached to him. He's the guy that got a bathroom landed on him. You know?
Yeah, well, and he was kind of ixnaying the whole thing. He was kind of saying like, we should do this life finds way, all that. But it seems weird to have him come and be like defending the dinosaurs. I'm not sure. That just seems like how the trailer is set up, where he's like, if we aren't careful, they're going to be here after us. And it's like, it just seems like he's kind of flipped like his stance. I don't know.
Well, if we're not careful, they're going to be here long after us. He's like, and he's making a more profound statement of life finds a way, yada yada. And he's also setting up the horror aspect of this next film. So, which I think we're getting those vibes from already. We're getting those vibes from it already. But
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I just want that old cast back, even if they're too old and it doesn't look really great. I want that Jeff Goldblum driving a Jeep commercial where he's just like,
dude, I did love that commercial.
It is
it's comedic. It's not supposed to be serious, but it looked good. It was cool. I liked the Jeep. I wouldn't mind having that Jeep, but
I think it plays well. The only thing is, if you're one of the 5 people who hasn't seen Jurassic Park, first off, doesn't make a lot of sense. Second off, you're like, okay, so 20 years ago, you were like however long, or you were in the back of the Jeep, and then you flipped up to the front of the Jeep, like you were in the back. And I don't know. Anyway, pretty cool commercial. I still liked it. If you guys don't know what we're talking about at all, we're talking about a Jurassic Park Jeep Rubicon commercial that they premiered during the Super Bowl this year, and we might have touched on it a little bit. Kind of funny, nothing super crazy, but just kind of like playing on that nostalgia. Nothing super out of the ordinary there. They whatever they could do to move some Jeeps, move those Rubicons. But yeah, but anyway, Jurassic World 3. Again, I'm not going to speculate on it right now. It could be anything at this point, but we'll see in due time. So
I do love that nostalgia, though.
Oh, they love it. Oh, baby, they prey on it.
Eat it up.
Speaking of nostalgia, it sounds like Chris Evans may have accidentally confirmed the standalone Black Widow film. So he was getting interviewed, and they were talking to him about the success of Black Panther, and he was talking about, Marvel's got a winning recipe, and, it's probably going to happen again for Captain Marvel, and then it did for Black Panther, and also maybe Black Widow. And so people are kind of saying, oh, maybe he's just speculating, maybe he's being serious. We don't know.
No, he accidentally blurbed it, and his publicist is behind the camera like, no.
Yeah, they're like, please, Chris, no. He's at a point, though, where he could probably say almost whatever he wants. They can't really get rid of him because he'll probably peace out before then. But Black Widow. Again, don't really need to speculate too much on this. We talked about it in the past. I don't really care for the character of Black Widow. I think she's kind of not had the best writing. She's kind of always been opposite, just like a guy. There hasn't been too much. I haven't really been interested or intrigued to find out about her backstory. We got a little bit of it in Age of Ultron, but honestly, again, I just want to see Captain Marvel. I want to see more of a focus on her, like Scarlet Witch. I would like that a little bit more. But right now,
well, so flat out, Jimmy, if you really look at this general overview, all the superheroes that you've seen featured throughout these Marvel films, et cetera, they're all out there, powerful, really neat aspects to them. Black Widow is, I mean, she's impressive. Yeah, all that great. She's a assassin type. But alone, what is she going to do that's going to blow us out of the water, like really profoundly impress us when we have all these other things to compare it to? And not to mention, even if, okay, we know she's a great character, Scarlett Johansson's a good actress, all that good stuff. They put her in a solo movie. Unfortunately, without the backup of some superpowered person or somebody with a more profound presence, it's lackluster because we've already seen that female assassin movie before. What aspect are they going to introduce that she can handle on her own, or what plot that she can handle on her own are they going to introduce that's going to make it stand on its own two legs?
Yep.
I don't know that it can be done.
I have a theory. They probably won't tackle this because they'll probably go like in the timeline. I want them to do two things. First off, bring Hawkeye in. Make it call it Black Widow and Hawkeye, or Black Widow, blah, 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 whatever. Like Hawkeye should be there because they have a past of working together. They even have like a shot of them in one of the movies kind of going back to back, like shooting and doing all this stuff. It's like put them in a scenario and then maybe do one of the callbacks. Maybe just have it be some of her career with S.H.I.E.L.D. and also that time where she got shot by the Winter Soldier. You bring that in there, you get people excited because they're like, oh, she's like talking about her past and like what led up to her being part of S.H.I.E.L.D., the assassinations she used to do and all of that stuff. Because you're right, you can't really do anything where she's going to like top anything you're going to see in like a Black Panther or an Iron Man. Like it's just not going to happen. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really super excited. Just like I love Marvel films. I'm wearing a Marvel shirt. But I think she plays a lot better when she's doing kind of like the espionage stuff, or when she's kind of supporting the team, when she's working with Cap, like on a covert operation. I'm like, that's perfect. That's where she belongs. So when she's out there fighting the Chitauri, like in New York, I'm like, what? Like, like how did you survive?
Yeah.
It just kind of, it's baffling to me. Whereas like Thor and Cap are like bloody, and I'm like how is she okay? And like they're like
her arm was broken. She just doesn't show pain.
Yeah, she doesn't show pain. That's the Red Room. They're told not to show pain. Their toes were marble. Yeah, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. And we talked about this before the show too, but apparently Scarlett Johansson's even kind of alluded to the fact that she said, like, I don't know how much more time I might have to be like in a skin tight a skin tight catsuit that's black. There we go.
You wouldn't believe the diet. The things I have to eat every day. I haven't had a piece of chocolate in years.
Exactly. And she's like, as her accountant's just counting all the money in the actually you wouldn't have to count it, just be a number on the screen. He's like, but yeah, and like she's got other projects that they have to work on. It's like, okay, that's totally fine. I'd rather have Marvel say, let's just do this movie. Let's just do it like in the next 2 or 3 years and just get it done with. So that way people who are like, oh, I want the Black Widow movie. It's like, there you go. Here it is. Just, we're not going to don't make a trilogy.
Of all the actors and actresses in Marvel, who really branches out and does the most work? Probably her and Chris Hemsworth.
Maybe. I know Ruffalo does a lot, I think, or used to.
Not that I don't know. Not as much anymore.
Not big stuff. Yeah. Are you fiddling with the mic, by the way? I can hear something. What are you touching it? What are you doing over this?
Sorry, I couldn't help it. It's so shiny.
Don't touch it, Joe. No, just kidding. Yeah, I can't think of other, like, I know Robert Downey Jr. does like 1 or 2 other things here and there, but
rarely. Like, what's the last thing we saw him do? Something with Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah, maybe that. Or no, he did the Judge. He did the one with the judge, where like his dad was a judge.
Oh, and he was the lawyer or whatever, and it was kind of that was a while ago though too. That was years.
They probably have done other things. I just don't like. If it isn't like a big mainstream thing, I'm sorry. I just don't. I can't. I don't know. I don't know it. Like if it's like, oh yeah,
he's in it, you would typically hear about it, and I haven't. Yeah. Spider-Man: Homecoming.
See, oh, totally, yeah, that's it.
Same character though. He's been Tony Stark pretty much nonstop forever, and hasn't really done much else lately.
All I'm saying is, maybe I don't understand this from an outside perspective, but one of my dreams has been like to be like a superhero, like action movie star. And like if I could land a role in the MCU and that's all I had to do, that's all I'd want to do. Like they'd be like, Jimmy, there's another like script here, and I'd be like, no thanks. Like if I could make just enough to live that way, I'd be like, perfect. Let's just make sure my character doesn't get killed off. I'll be in 20 films. It'll be great.
Yeah, and I'm sure it is a difference of perspectives because they look at it as, okay, it's a role. Yeah, great. And superhero movie, okay, it's fun. It's going to be cool. Oh, I got this other movie. Okay, I got a break here. I can sneak that one in and do that. Diversify, make sure I create some longevity out of my career and all that. Whereas we look at it, we're maybe, I'm going to use the word infatuated here, but it shouldn't be considered a bad thing. We're just passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
We love the idea of superhero. You get to play this role that you kind of dream about. And let's face it, everybody kind of loves superhero movies for the reason of, man, what if I was in those shoes? Oh, man. And everybody kind of likes that idea. To be able to play that role for somebody who hasn't been exposed or dabbled in that industry or done that sort of thing, to us, like that's like top tier. Like if that's all I did for my career, then great, because that's freaking awesome, and I loved every second of it. So I can see how, yeah, our the way we perceive that would be different. And I agree with you. I mean, for me, it'd be like, yeah, I'm in a Marvel movie. You're darn right. I'm invested in this character only. This is me. I am Black Panther. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Wait,
Winter Soldier.
I would be the Spotted Leopard, Black Panther's sidekick.
They just add you and they write you in like you're a friend.
I would love to be Warmonger. I think
Killmonger.
Killmonger. Sorry.
I think Warmonger was the name of the bad guy in Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
Obadiah Stane's like suit. He was called Warmonger.
Really? Either way, Killmonger is probably the coolest villain name ever. Yeah, like Killmonger is just mad. It's just got a ring to it. Comes right off the tongue. I would have loved to have played a character like that. And he's coming back. There ain't no way.
Apologies.
Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
Ironmonger, War Machine. Don't confuse the two. Yeah. Sorry, I do that all the time. I do it all the time. Okay.
Good, though. Nice test there.
Thank you. I had to check. Because I love Marvel, but I don't know about the comics. I'm sorry. If you want to send me comics, you can. There's a PO box. Anyway. But yeah, Black Widow. We'll talk about it more when we get more. I don't even want to bring up.
It may not even be a thing. We don't know.
We don't know. It probably is. It's just like a marketing thing. Unless Scarlett Johansson. Everyone's like, you just hate Scarlett Johansson. That's not true. I just want to see something where I'm like, man, I'm really glad Scarlett Johansson was in this. Like she was the voice of Kaa in Jungle Book. Why? It's because there aren't any women in that movie, so they just had to force it in. I want the guy who's doing the voice of Winnie the Pooh back because that is terrifying. You're like, oh, this is kind of a nice voice. This is I like this, but then he's gonna kill you. And it's like, what? Trust in me.
Bad. Snake's bad.
Yeah, I think Scarlett Johansson, there's a lot more to her. And
I like her. I think she plays Black Widow well.
Yeah, I think the best version of her was like in Winter Soldier, where she was kind of like working with Cap, but like there was always an ulterior motive.
It fit her character better. The other ones you don't quite care about her as much because you got kind of eye candy everywhere else. I mean, one would think she's the eye candy, a beautiful girl, but there's all these other kind of spectacular, fanatical things going around. It's great. But
well, it starts to kind of mitigate that when you look at like Civil War, where like she and Agent 13 are fighting Winter Soldier together, and you're like, okay, so if like you've got the same like ability, like Agent 13 kind of has the same kind of skill set almost as Black Widow, it's like, why isn't the Avengers just consistent of like 40 just like assassins? Like you're just get them on the team.
And who's Agent 13?
She is Emily Van Camp.
Oh, yeah.
That's my girl from Revenge. What's up? Good show. Check it out. It's done now. It's all completed. It's all like 5 seasons worth. I don't know how they made it go
is
for
a good
5
show.
seasons.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it had to end sometime.
Yeah, so good, man.
Needless to say, we're kind of man on it. When we see more, we'll speculate some more and kind of give a hype meter out. But we don't have any media to go off of as of yet.
Exactly. But you know what media we do have to go off of? We've got some Black Panthers right here on my shirt. Black Panther discussion to talk about. So before we get into spoilers, I want to tell people that we're going to do like a little spoiler-free talk about it. We'll talk about little like brief plot synopsis, all that jazz. I did a review of it, so you should definitely check that out if you want to. That's also spoiler-free. We'll talk about that, but when the spoilers come, don't worry. I'll flip the good old-fashioned spoiler switch. It's invisible because I don't want other people touching it.
Only I know where to find it.
Joe, if you could give me a brief, and by brief I mean much, much less than your 47 meters down synopsis of the plot, without spoiling something, just like a brief, just like start off, like if you're trying to sell me on, if I've never heard of Black Panther before, like you're like, all right, tell me like a little blurb of this movie to get me in the door. Like, why should I go see Black Panther? Why?
The suit.
Okay, but I haven't seen the suit. So I'm like, the suit? What do you mean the suit? What he's got a suit? There's like a tux or like a suit or something. Is he?
Well, I would go on my phone. I'd be like, okay, yeah, right here. See the suit is freaking awesome. It's all about the aesthetics, baby. I love the aesthetics of this movie, and for an artistic person such as myself, I appreciate it in that aspect. Along with the what do you want? How do you want to say it? The technological profoundness of it all. It's very mind-blowing and kind of like you think like, man, maybe that could be a real thing someday, like that's pretty cool, who had that idea? That's neat. I liked all those aspects of it. The characters, the casting is very well done. I'm not going to give a synopsis of it because I'm horrible at that. In fact, I'm going to spin that back on you. But real quick, that would be my sell on it. Like those things were they're great. The music is great. If you don't find entertainment in it, what the hell's wrong with you?
Perfect. That's a good way to get people in the theater, is saying like, if you don't like this, there's something wrong with you.
I'm like a dictator, aren't
I? All right. If I was trying to sell it to somebody, I would say, all right, let me break it down for you. Do you like superhero films? Good. Because if you already said no, then it might be kind of problematic. But this is a film about politics too, in a lot of ways, which might not be a sell to a lot of people, but it's tackling some pretty big issues that most superhero films haven't tried to tackle or tackled with the amount of tact. So you have Prince T'Challa, who's going home after the untimely death of his father, Prince T'Chaka, back to this hidden nation in Africa called Wakanda. And it's got this one amazing resource called vibranium. It's this meteor struck it a long time ago. It's this really super duper powerful metal that has the ability to do pretty much everything, it seems like.
Absorbs energy.
Yeah, or reflects it, or anyway, because it depends on which.
Cap shield.
But then like Cap shield, like if Thor hits it, it like shoots out the shockwave thing. So it's like
because that's Thor, man. That's Thor.
Thor's cheap, man.
But I remember him saying with Cap shield something about it, vibranium. It can absorb some kinetic energy, whatever, yada yada. So it shields almost anything.
Yes, pretty much. And like instead of like it like stops a bullet, like it doesn't like deflect. It's like that's how they fall. Like they hit and they go straight down. It's like
because it absorbed the kinetic energy. Oh my god, we just explained it. I don't even remember how they explained it, but that's it.
Yeah. Anyway, so Prince T'Challa has to go home. He has to basically fight for the crown, and there are some external threats that come in, both from exterior and from internal these problems, and he has to go back and deal with that. And that is basically the setup for the whole film. But it's kind of not globetrotting, but they do go to a few different locales, and yeah, really, it's a good looking film. The cast is exceptional. The music is good. Now, when we say the music is good, there's kind of two different things that I kind of want to mention here. There is
two different things.
There's a standalone album by Kendrick Lamar and some other artists that is inspired by Black Panther. But then there's also the film score. Now, Joe's listened to the soundtrack, like the one that's been inspired by, and you like that a lot.
But is also featured in the movie.
Yes, somewhat. But then also there's a really good film score done by some Swedish or somebody else who does a really great job of blending both this kind of tribal and techno or kind of futuristic beats, or this kind of Afrofuturism meld that works really well. It's very
And I need to give that a try because that's cool, like a kind of melting pot of music genres. I like that. That's cool.
Definitely. It's and they've got like the orchestral stuff, which I talked about it being kind of worried about, that I was worried that like all the fight scenes would be undercut with rap, and I was like, that might kind of take me out of it because Wakanda isn't necessarily like into like rap, it's not necessarily like they don't really seem to have that sort of thing.
They did kind of hone in on the whole African American culture type thing now and again, and
yes,
very not in a pushy sense, but
yep.
It just was what it was, and it didn't really blur out of its lane at all. It kind of that's what it was, and it was unapologetic for it, which is how it should be, right? So,
Yep.
I there were some moments of rap that were very fitting, like I don't want to start the spoilers. I don't want to flip the switch.
That's right. Don't flip the switch yet. But anyway, I'd recommend it if you like superhero films, you probably have already seen it. If you like Marvel films, it's got a lot of that. It feels a little phase one-y, especially with the villain insofar as their powers, not so much the motivations, which are a bit different. This villain's much more fleshed out than most Marvel villains, which is good. That's really good.
Sure, yeah, it was well done, and they didn't spend too much time on it, but it was just right.
Yeah, but I would recommend you guys see it. But like I said, I reviewed it, and hopefully that didn't spoil anything. We talked about the things we liked about it. But I think, Joe, unless you have anything else to say, we can flip the spoiler switch.
Jimmy, you're going to need two hands for this one. Flip the switch.
Okay. All right. Oh, man. It's a little rusty because last time we did this was for Star Wars. So here we go.
Like I'm picturing like arc flash from a welder. Like
the effect that I use is definitely not that good. So for our audio listeners,
without a sound effect for that.
Oh yeah,
without a sound effect of like a and electric sparks, that was probably the funniest thing you'll ever listen to if you don't have video.
That's all I'm trying to do is provide that comedic content for our viewers. We'll get a sound effect for that. That's a good idea. We're going to bring up the budget in 2018 here.
We need an electrical sound effect for that for sure. Like a generator blowing up or something.
I just need the fan art. Just people, they're like, this is the spoiler switch. It's all rusty and horrible. Anyway, okay, we flipped the spoiler switch, which means that Joe and I can freely discuss any aspect of the film, and it will probably be spoiler heavy. So there are timestamps down below. You can skip up to Timekillers or community feedback and questions, all that stuff. So don't listen to this if you haven't seen the film and don't want it to be spoiled. All right, Joe, you talked about rap in a particular scene. Please tell me which scene you're talking about because I do not remember.
I might be wrong on this, but I've been listening to the soundtrack like on repeat for a little while, so it's I'm kind of losing track of where certain songs were featured. The one that we all know, if you've seen the movie, The Weeknd featuring Kendrick Lamar, that club sound track that they're playing when T'Challa and his crew go into that South Korean club.
Oh, sure, the casino.
Yeah, the casino, underground gambling, whatever. They go in there, and that track's playing. That track, at first, it seems kind of lackluster, but it starts to wear on you. It's got a good beat to it, and it was fitting for that scene, I felt. But I feel like that's the most well-known song from the movie at this point, mainly because The Weeknd and Kendrick Lamar. I mean, come on. I mean, that's on radio right now. But then I'm pretty sure the paramedic scene where Eric Stevens, right?
Eric.
Killmonger
Yeah.
is his nickname, middle name, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I'm Eric Killmonger Stevens. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, Stevens. What is that really his last name? Am I right?
It could be. You could be right. You might be right because he came from
Yeah.
Oakland. So I mean,
Yeah.
America. So,
He when he's in the museum and he's like, you don't watch what you put in your body. Or you're worried about all these glass cases, but you don't even pay attention to what you're putting in your body. And she passes out, convulsing on the ground or whatever. And I'm pretty sure they start some music there. And the track is called Paramedic, and it's really good. Like, I have it queued up literally right now, and I would play it if we wouldn't get in trouble. But
I listen to like that, but it's like the film score version, so it's just called Killmonger, and it's just kind of got this like really cool beat with like some good horns and stuff. So it could be tied into all that stuff too. But it's just really cool.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, this is really cool. I absolutely love that scene. Not only did I know Andy Serkis was going to be coming in as a paramedic because I kind of saw him and I'm like, all right, there he is. But for some odd reason, I really like get attached to villains who say things that I am legitimately thinking. I thought the same thing with Bane in Dark Knight Rises, where it was kind of, they were threatening him and he's on a plane in the beginning. And he's like, the guy's like, tell us where, such and such is. Where's Bane? Otherwise, we're going to throw you out of the plane. And, or we're going to shoot you. And then Bane he says, like, he's probably wondering why you'd shoot him first before throwing him out of the plane. I was like, oh, So the same thing happened with Claw in this one, where he tells this guy, he's like, oh, come here. Because the guy kind of puts his hands up when he sees the Claw's drawing a gun and starts shooting people. He's like, you know what? I'll tell you what, you can go if you promise not to tell anybody. And the guy's like starts running away, just shoots him in the back, and he's like, it makes us look like amateurs. And I was like, I knew you were gonna do that. I was like,
yeah, that crossed my mind when he did that too. Like, it looked, yeah, but yeah, great music at that scene. I feel like all the music featured in moments like that were kind of intense and kind of fast paced. They had good driving music behind it, and it was very catchy and really fit the moment well. Another example, when they break Claw out of the CIA interrogation room. I'm pretty sure there was some pretty cool driving music there, and I'm trying to think. Sorry, I started playing music.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
Well, I'm going through the track list, like, yeah, was it that song? Either way, just many good moments, and then at the end credit scene, obviously they play a bunch of it, but I enjoyed it, and I'm not a big rap guy. I'm not, and the soundtrack really kind of vibes with me, and it kind of keeps the feeling of the movie going for me, because it really associates itself well. I'm kind of like, it kind of brings me back, makes me think of it, makes me think of moments from the film. I'm like, yeah, that was good, so.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to talk about not just the music, but like you're talking about the introduction of Killmonger there, but talking about these characters themselves, which for me, besides maybe Martin Freeman a little bit, the guy who plays Everett Ross, like one of the only white guys in the whole movie, everybody else I thought he did a fine job, but everyone else was just so expertly cast. I think everybody there had a purpose. I think some of the standout ones, for me personally, I liked his sister a bit. I liked Shuri. I think that was her name.
I did too, yeah.
She kind of acts as like a cue to his James Bond. It kind of has like all these gadgets and stuff, but I liked her kind of more modern feel, because she was definitely the representation of Wakanda's cutting edge. And she kind of, she talked like she was somebody who was like watching the internet, or she kind of scoffed at some of these trials.
Fashion,
and
she kind of had like the cool like punk look going on in the beginning when they meet, and like, hope you'll put on more, what do you say? I hope you'll change your outfit to something more fitting for the ceremony or whatever, something like that. Not fitting, but more appropriate.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of got like the hip chick fashion going on. So yeah, she kind of was that representation. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I also, like I said, I liked how she kind of scoffed at tradition. Like she was just kind of like, and it was funny because other people would bring that up. Like I think M'Baku, the guy who's the leader of the tribe who's in the mountains, who is supposed to be called Man-Ape from the comics, but it's probably good that they didn't call him that. But yeah. He's kind of like, oh, she laughs at our traditions, and it's just like all of our technology is being produced by this young woman or whatever, and it's kind of like, yeah, but she's also very, very intelligent, and she knows what she's doing, and she's kind of always upgrading and kind of making fun of her old work. And I thought that was I don't know, I just like that character. I thought it was cool. And how they implemented her into the story, like in the action set pieces. I love how she was like driving a car, but she wasn't really there. And I was like, oh, how are they going to do that? And I'm like, okay, it's, vibranium, we'll just say it can do whatever. Like it could do all this incredibly magical stuff. But yeah, yes, okay, I think Shuri was her name. But the one that I really want to talk about, the one that I thought was incredibly good, and I feel like I butchered her name in the past, so I apologize in advance. Um, Denai Garura, she was the leader of the Dora Milaje. So basically, his guard, the
The
one that kind of
general?
followed him around. Yes, the general, the one who like followed him around. She had the wig on at one point. She's like this ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
She also plays Michonne from The Walking Dead. So if anybody's seen that show, you'd be like, but she is such a good actor. Like in that show in Walking Dead,
Actress.
or yeah, well, sometimes they like
They
to.
don't prefer either or, do they? They don't mind either
Yeah,
or.
I think it's supposed to be one of those like equality. I want actor, actress, whatever.
Doesn't matter. No.
Acting as a profession. She in that show, she's she doesn't get a lot usually to work with. She has to be kind of more subdued and more serious. But in this one, she has the chance to kind of show her range a little bit and the conflict she has where she wants to protect T'Challa and she's been with him for all these years and she wants him to do well. But then eventually, when Killmonger takes the throne away from him, she says like, I am loyal to that throne right over there. She said like, and like, what are you loyal to? And I kind of like that because like she's like, this is her life. Like she's like, I am loyal to Wakanda to a point, like she does all this and she does kind of support that, but then she finally realizes she's like, you know what, man, like forget you, Killmonger, and then like the entire Dora Milaje against him, and I love that scene because she just
Well,
like turns on him. It's like,
yeah, it was a good moment or a very cool moment and profound, impactful, all the good things. Um, I feel like her reasoning behind that, though, that was like almost like a moment of impeachment. Like he had crossed the line enough to where it was like, okay, now
yeah, a good point.
this has to end, kind of a deal.
That's
Because
a good point.
it's beyond law, kind of a deal. Like this is it.
Yeah, well, they also had another element with her character because basically her husband or lover or boyfriend or whatever was kind of,
Yeah,
part of this too. Like he was one of T'Challa's best friend, and
one
he
of
was
the
starting.
tribes that guarded the perimeter of the.
Yeah, and his
Yeah,
motivation was he's like, yeah, Claw killed like my family a long time ago, and T'Chaka didn't do anything about it, and you're not doing anything. I thought it'd be different, T'Challa, but then when Killmonger brings Claw's dead body up to him, he's kind of like, oh, cool, this guy's getting stuff done, and he's just walking in. And apparently, there's a deleted scene with those two talking a little bit more back and forth about why they should or shouldn't, kind of bolster or decide to kind of go against Killmonger's decisions. And apparently, they took it out because it kind of dragged on a little bit, but I just like that dynamic. You take this character from the Dora Milaje, the general, and kind of say like, all right, she's kind of a minor character, but actually she's kind of a big deal. Like she can really
it's a
change the
big
game.
deal.
It's like
Yeah,
I just love that. But it's like all of this revolves around who I think like who I keep forgetting about because he stole the show for me in Civil War. But like T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, like is the central pillar of all of this. Like it all revolves around him, and he does a really great job of kind of showing a big range of emotion, not only being like the stoic king, but also like going to the astral plane and talking with his deceased father and kind of like having that conflict of saying, well, should we keep Wakanda safe and isolated or should we try to save the world? Because when Killmonger shows up and basically says, hey guys, where were you for slavery? Where were you for the problems of our people? And they're kind of like twiddling their thumbs like, well, we were trying to protect Wakanda. It's like both sides have some validity, like
yeah,
Civil War. It's like which side do I pick? Which is good. That's how it should be. Like you should feel that conflict, which they nail in
yeah.
this movie.
There was some validity to both sides. And Killmonger, you could kind of sympathize with his argument there and his reasoning and what he was doing, but what what he wanted to do, he wanted to go about it the wrong way.
Yeah,
He wanted it to be a violent uprising kind of a thing, which is um, obviously a bad way to go about it. Whereas now, T'Challa kind of took what he learned from Killmonger in, the worst way to learn it, but he kind of understood where he was coming from and the reasoning behind what was going on there. And at the end, they kind of bring it full circle and he kind of applies that. And then obviously, biggest spoiler of them all, that kind of the after credit prelude to the after credit scene where he's at kind of that UN council meeting, and he's like, Wakanda will no longer watch from the shadows. We'll share our resources and help, as if we were all brothers and sisters, kind of deal. Great, but you still have to go about that very carefully. I mean, you just kind of printed a target on your back and your front and your top and your bottom, because the second they realize what you have, everybody wants it, because that's just the state of the world we're in, right? So
Yeah, well, my question is more so like, where does Wakanda get all their money before that? If they're like, I know this is kind of like meta talk here, but like, where is the money coming in? Like, I get if you're like an isolated thing, like you could kind of produce all the stuff within maybe or whatever, but then like later on, he's like a billionaire, and I'm like, okay, but what did you sell? Like, like, where did you get the money? Like, you got spies everywhere. Are you like siphoning funds from other countries? And you're like, well, Wakanda's kind of, we're gonna play a game now, like we'll play ball with everybody now. Anyway, neither here nor there. But that's a good point you bring up, Joe, about the UN stuff. This movie had a lot of things to say politically, and I didn't feel like they were like outright forcing anything on you, which was really good, because sometimes when a movie gets preachy, you're like, oh, here we go. But there's one line in there where it says like, I don't know if it's like at times of war or whatever, like the wise build bridges and like the cowards or this foolish build walls.
yeah.
And I know maybe that's kind of a shot at like American politics, but I thought that was just kind of like just a blanket statement for humanity, kind of saying like, why not work together, instead of saying like, all right, let's, kind of like Wakanda is saying like, all right, we're done building walls, we're tearing our walls down, and we're going to build bridges outwards to help the entirety of the human civilization. But you're right, they do have to go about it the right way, because they are a very technologically advanced and powerful society. Whereas like some of us might say, hey, that's cool, their science is really advanced. Other people are saying, hey, sweet, you've got sweet super weapons. Great. What can we make out of vibranium that could like destroy an entire country? Like some people would be thinking that. Like
exactly, which is pitiful. But yeah, I like that line that you spoke about there. I mean, that could be interpreted a few different ways. Well, not even interpreted. It can be applied to so many things, or a metaphor for so many different things. I mean, yeah, it could be a shot at modern day politics in our country. It can also be applied as, excuse me, all foreign relations between all countries, etc. I mean, everybody working together, harmony, that whole thing, and they kind of went for that kind of inspirational feeling, which I think they hit very well. But this movie especially, and I've seen other movies, Wonder Woman a little bit, movies of this style that have they've had a bit of an underlying meaning to them, whether they intended it or not, which a lot of times I feel they do. And a lot of it relating to kind of current events.
Yeah.
So this one especially, I mean, I don't really, I didn't try to hone in on it so much. I just tried to enjoy it, and I did. But I really love the African vibes in this movie, and I like that they kind of, towards the end they come back and he buys the building. He's going to create a reach out center from Wakanda in Oakland, which kind of saying, okay, people are hurting in areas, they don't get what they need. They grow up under wrong circumstances, and they don't contribute to society because of it, and things need to be done about that. Wakanda can help. Okay, well, who can help that?
Yeah,
Governments, country, politics, etc. We could do things to better ourselves, and I like that they struck an inspirational tone with it all, and something that's so loved as a superhero movie, and a new character like this being inspirational for those reasons, and kind of not being pushy about it, but having that underlying tone. I think well done and good on them.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I like the movie. So.
Well, yeah, one of the many, for me anyway. I Oakland, you brought that up, which I think is the one thing that kind of grounds this movie in any way. And I think that's one of the reasons why they wanted to keep it in there, because Marvel typically goes a little crazier, but they always try to do like one or two things in a movie to say, hey, guess what? This is still reality. or like some
Yeah,
version of
New
it,
York City. Where was Tony Stark's house? It was in
Oh, Malibu. Yeah,
Malibu.
but
Yeah,
not necessarily location. I just mean like people, or like in Age of Ultron, they spend a lot of time saving people. Like, because usually in superhero films, they
oh,
don't have like people like saving civilians. You know, it's like that's just boring. Like, get him on the ship. It's like no, they spent time
yeah,
to do that, and I think that's what Oakland represented in this one. But you're talking
yeah.
about T'Challa, kind of inspirational. This is obviously two just Caucasian guys. If you're just listeners, believe it or not, two white guys. But guess what? Like, oh, I've been asking for this for a long time. Like, I don't want to see just like white superheroes. Like, this guy was great. He's inspirational to me, not because of his race, but because
Yeah,
of who he is. Like, he's a guy who has, you know, hesitation. Like, he's a guy who's like, man, I've got thrust into this role. I'm not sure I'm ready for this. Like, this
yeah,
is a big deal. And now he's making a move that none of the other Black Panthers ever did. Like, he's like, I'm gonna be a superhero, I'm gonna be a king, but I'm also gonna be a representative to the world. Like, that's
yeah,
insane. Like,
yeah.
power to him, man. But then he's also a king that goes on secret covert missions, which I absolutely love. I'm like, that is my kind of like. I love the leaders in movies, like an Independence Day. The president like is getting in a plane, going out to fight. I love seeing a leader go out and do work, and it's like,
Yeah,
who would
the
let him go,
president flying that jet out to fight the aliens.
dude? So good.
Independence Day, just like you gotta like it, but it's like,
Oh, it's
geez,
stupid. Yeah,
wow.
yeah. But like,
But
for him, like in this, like you got like that council of people there, and he's sitting there, and they're like, "All right, this opportunity to go after Claw, we're not gonna probably get one of these again." And he's kind of like, "All right, I'm gonna go do this, and I promise you, my friend, that I'm gonna bring this guy back to be judged." And it's like, and he was about to kill him, like Claw, after that cool car chase, like in the eyes of the Korean public, which I thought would have sent a great message to say Wakanda's here, baby. But like it's like don't you mess with Wakanda. Like, this is what happens. Which would have been great. But they're like, no, the eyes are watching you. The world.
there are more of me.
Yeah, exactly. There's tons more. But you know, I do want to talk a little bit about, you know, the things that I love the most in these movies, like the superpowers and the suit and everything. How do you feel? Like, I know you said you like the suit. I personally like the look of the face in Civil War a little bit better, but I like the fact that this suit's got more in it. Like the whole, like, it can store up the kinetic energy and then release it when it wants to. Like, I
I,
dig that.
I enjoyed that too. I like that his little sister had been working on like an improvement on the suit, and like I've added these features to it, which was really cool. And the fact that he only like all he had to do was wear the necklace, and it was just like it was almost like what was it, a mental control.
Yeah, or something,
Yeah.
because they had those other like little things that you could like listen in with. So I felt like it was kind of that technology where it was connected to you, so you could just be like, all right, it's on.
Yeah, it was like a thought provoking initiation. So like you want your helmet on,
Yeah.
helmet off, or open eyes, eyes open,
Well, she made a
which
joke about the helmet thing too, which was great.
oh yeah, like oh you're shooting at me. Hold on while I put on my helmet, And that was funny. She had all sorts of good quips,
Well,
but
yeah, their relationship was so great, which made those scenes even better because she's like filming him and she's like, this is for test purposes. I'm like, because this is going to go back to bite you, buddy. Because she's like, kick it here, kick it again.
yeah, that was really good. He's like, erase that.
Yeah.
I'll watch this movie again for sure. I think, so back to the suit, the kinetic energy absorption and redistribution from the nanites or whatever that she explained, and then you see it featured. Very cool. The color aspect, that when he's got that kinetic energy stored, it's kind of pulsating purple. Really neat. And then the same thing with Killmonger when he gets to that point. He's got the cool. I liked his suit better, by the way. It had the gold aspects to it, and he had the teeth, man. He had the teeth. I
don't like
loved
the
it.
gold though. I like the silver and the purple and stuff. That plays more to me. Just me though. Anyway, I'm glad you liked it.
I just like the teeth because it looks more vicious. Put the teeth on T'Challa's suit, and I'm all right with it.
I'm saying his last mask in Civil War is just better. Like, there's some weird indent in the mask he has now, but that other one was just like so striking. And I like that the eyes never opened in Civil War. Like, when they opened in this movie, it feels a little weird. Like, why?
I don't like that either. Flat out, I don't like that either. I like the I don't know that there's a word to describe it well, but the composition of it when it's shut and the whole mysteriousness of it,
Yeah, dude.
and
Yeah.
it has a badass feel. Like when he looks like this and he still has the lenses down and you can't see his eyes, there's something piercing about that.
You know what? I think I figured it out. It's this other humanly predator style mask thing where you look at it and it's like that kind of looks like a person, but it's not. Like, and that's why
Yeah,
it's scary. It's like, whoa,
yeah.
it's looking at me, but I can't. It's like looking through me. Like,
Yeah. I like that. It's cool. So that's why I mentioned at the beginning when you're like, how do you get somebody to go to this movie? So somebody that's fueled artistically or very, what's the word? Right brain is the artistic side, left brain is the logical, more
maybe.
analytical side, right? Well, so for you right brain folk, oh man, this is like a feast for the senses.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it back. Feast
Mhm.
for the senses, people. It was really really cool. I loved all the cool designs, the the outfits, the geometric shapes, the the style, the fashion. The fashion was cool, like and like the
Yeah.
technology built into their fashion, like the cloaks that they pulled up that had the shield, and then the wrist bracelets. Come on, man, I'm all about it, all about it.
Dude, I'm
But
excited to see Cap use a big shawl for a shield. He's like,
um T'Challa's suit, the Black Panther suit in general, is just striking and sexy for lack of a better term. And what can I say? I want one.
yeah. They give you like that brief. It's basically all in the trailer, but that moment when he's basically the predator and he attacks that cargo or that kind of caravan. I was like, if I could have
Yeah.
gotten like another minute of that, like,
Yeah, so not only the aesthetic and like superficial style, but the action sequences, the style of the action was sexy smooth. Like that car chase scene when they're trying to chase down that convoy of Toyota 4Runners. Yeah, the logos were blocked out, but I knew what they were.
Audi
um,
couldn't pay this time. They're like, yeah, you broke too much in Civil War, man.
yeah, well, the Lexus was their big,
Uh,
product placement here. But so anywho, because those were the cars that they were chasing them down in. But when they're doing that, when he does that like flip in the air on the bridge and then lands on another truck, I was just like, oh, or he lands back on the hood of the car and he's just like oh. The motion and the movements and the slow-mo moments used properly were just so well done and really neat. But then just one more step back to the suit. And this can be said for Marvel, period. There are very few characters in Marvel that don't have like a full featured suit. Like if you think about it, the majority do. You've got Iron Man, you've got well, even Cap has a mask.
well, like Spider-Man, Ant-Man.
Spider-Man, yeah, Ant-Man. Who else do we have? There are others. I had them fresh on my mind for a minute and I can't think of them. But
Those are the
I
biggest ones.
Iron Man and Black Panther for sure stand out big time. Uh, it's a striking, chiseled appearance, and the lines flow really well. And there's something that's just like it's like if you're big in the cars and you see that Lamborghini roll up, you see this suit and it's like, oh yeah, I want
Yep.
it. You know?
Here's a hot take though, Joe. I still think the best Iron Man suit is in that first one where the first time he puts it on, it's like the full red and gold, and it just looks
Oh yeah.
badass. You're like, I don't want to mess with that guy because he'll like look at you and you're like, is that a good guy? Like,
Yeah, because then when it comes down, yeah, it's almost got an angry appearance to it.
yeah,
And the
he's
same
angry.
thing with Black Panther. They don't, it's eyes, not really a nose. It's just kind of, down and there's no mouth to it, which is just the thing about it is suits like that. They, like you just said, I don't, is he a good guy? They're just striking and they're mysterious.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
mysterious, and that kind of adds to the cool factor. You know what I mean? So when you compare that to something contrasting like DC, like think about it. DC, are there a lot of helmets in that world?
That's a good point, Joe.
Not
Not
really.
really. I used to think Batman was like the coolest outfit, but now that I think about, I don't like seeing like this, like that, like this.
It's still so human, you know. There's a
Yeah,
lot there, you know. I mean, he's intimidating, but only to a point. It's not like Black Panther full face, just like express like emotionless.
yeah,
So you're just like, wow, you know, Superman, glasses, no glasses.
yeah. Well, also
Okay.
he's not. He's like the most intimidating, but like if you just looked at him, you wouldn't think he'd be like, oh, that's a nice. That's just a nice guy right there. And then he could just destroy the entire planet if you wanted to. And you're like, oh,
Yeah, or if he wants to look angry or straight faced, I mean, he can look pretty
yeah,
intimidating. But
yeah,
that's besides the point. I mean, with characters like these in Marvel, the whole helmet and the whole suit appearance that just throws out vibes of just badassery, you know.
yeah.
And I really really like that. I mean, can you imagine, like, I know it's not right, but I mean, like Aquaman with some sort of cool helmet to match that garb that he had
Be
on.
cool. That would be cool. Yeah, because
You know,
you like looking at these
DC's
things.
very contrasting, and we
Yeah,
love this about Marvel. Would we like to see more of that in DC? Well, it would kind of be changing some of the characters that have been established for so long. But
yeah. I don't think they do it for DC, and I think it plays in Marvel's benefit also for like the long run because even if you cast new people or get them to have like their young wards take up the Black Panther mantle or Iron Man mantle, if you don't even like that actor or whomever is playing it, you put that suit on or whatever, and you're already back. You're like, oh, cool, it's Iron Man again, or it's Black Panther again. And you're like, you're excited to see that outfit, and you can like look at all the texture and all the designs, and you're like, that's so intricate. Like, wow, that's incredible. Like, oh man, yeah, I think the Black Panther suit might be my favorite superhero costume right now. It's just too,
yeah, me too.
it's very.
What'd you think about the shoes that she made for him? Try out my new shoes I made.
Oh, that was.
Guess what I call
What do you? Yeah,
them?
sneakers. Yeah, I knew it. Right as she was saying it, I was like, it's gonna be sneakers. I'm like,
Yeah, like it was perfect. It
that
was so good.
relationship is so
And they're
good.
laughing about it together. You know, it was good. I thought she was gonna die, man.
Oh no, I wasn't worried. I thought I was
Really,
like,
I
she's
don't
good.
know. When Killmonger was over or about to kill her, I thought for sure T'Challa was gonna be too late, and that was gonna be like the motivation for the ending of it all.
Oh sure, no, they
I
can't kill
thought,
their cue. They
I
can't.
don't, yeah,
I
I
like when
don't
they
know.
show her driving the car in that chase scene, and then the bullets hit the chair, and it's like if she would have been there, she would have probably died, because
Oh
they like
yeah,
go through. But I was back to that car chase scene for just a second. It's so cool. Like the general, the door Milaje does like a cool flip, lands on this hood thing with her spear, and it's all cool. And then the other friend, his kind of girlfriend or whatever, kind of shows up on the seat of the car and slides down next to her because the car has been destroyed, and like that's the only part left. And she kind of like pulls up next to her. It's kind of like, hey, like it's kind of like we both survived that. Like good job.
yeah.
It's like the
That
comedy.
was a little weird. She comes skidding up
I
on the
know, but
chair with the steering wheel.
it was
How
like
did everything go? And she's just holding a steering wheel. Like,
vibranium or something. I don't. All I know is that the comedy in this movie was like spot on, especially after watching Thor Ragnarok, which just shoves it down your throat, or like Deadpool or something. Like this movie was like it would do a joke and then cut away. Like
oh
yeah,
no,
it was
the
perfect.
comedy was keyed in on perfect times,
I love,
appropriate times.
and it would
You
undercut
know,
at the
and
right
stuff like the
moments.
steering wheel seats getting to a stop. That wasn't like I just had a funny line to say. That
Yeah,
was like a just a happenstance of the circumstance, right?
yeah. She didn't pull up and she wasn't like we should have taken an Uber. It
Yeah,
wasn't
it
like
wasn't
that.
something stupid and forced like that. It was just
Yeah,
a happenstance of the situation. So
but it just undercuts like that kind of crazy chase scene. But then like later on they're all up in the mountain tribes group, and they're all talking about this stuff, and then M'Baku, the leader, is like he cuts them off because they're all having like this beautiful moment, like the family's
are
back
you
together. Yeah,
finished?
he's like, are you finished? He's like basically the king of this own little area, and they're just like just taking up his entire throne room, just talking about. He's just kind of like, come on guys, let's go. Like I don't want to just sit here. He's like, come on, just get out of here, just go. Which I love that. But I will say this. I was completely like at that second act, I was kind of getting a little bored. I was like, but then something miraculous happened, something I didn't expect at all. And usually these movies don't like surprise me too much. But vibranium covered rhinos was not one of the things I thought I'd be seeing today or that day when I saw it. And when they shot out, it made sense to me. I know you're not a huge fan, Joe, but like I liked watching Black Panther take it down. Apparently, that's a shot from the comics. He actually does that to like a regular rhino. It's kind of cool to see him be a panther in a moment where he kind of grabs the horn of it and kind of slams it down. But like, they weren't killing these things. Like, one of them stops to lick the general at the end or whatever, and like, it was cool implementation of these creatures, which I was like, that was good. You know, like, it wasn't too much. It wasn't like elephants running in. It wasn't like panthers covered in vibranium running in there. You know, it was like that could have been bad. But
we would
I
have had a Jurassic World situation.
oh,
on our
for
hands.
sure. Yeah, like a blue. But the Panthers in the astral plane and how they shot like the
That was
visuals for
cool.
that was like perfection. Like, seriously. And like getting the dad to come back and like that emotion there, like all that stuff was just so good. And like putting him in like a full like white outfit too. So he's just like, you always are looking at T'Challa like in those scenes, but it's like that purple background is like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah, like it was just majestic.
oh yeah, I was like that his outfits in the movie were so cool. I kept looking at him like, dang, that's a really it's a good looking outfit there,
His suit at the
T'Challa.
casino scene, I was like, man, I should wear that suit to my wedding.
He like any but it was like it was regal, but it was still like what did you say?
I should just show this on the screen if you can read that. Apparently Siri picked up on that there, whatever I said. And I always ask Siri to call me Grizzly Bunny.
Why do you ask her to call you Grizzly Bunny?
I don't know, because it was funny at the time and now it's funny every time.
Anyway, I was gonna say that his suits are regal, but they also have like a little bit of that kind of like almost matrixy or kind of like kind of street vibe. Like they go like a little too long or something, which I like a lot. Like there's like a little bit like if he wanted to, he could be like throw down and kind of swing it and like attack you. And I don't know. I just thought I thought everyone was great, man. It's hard to find.
I like that word regal. I feel like this movie can be described with that word. There are a lot of, because I keep throwing out the word sexy and streamlined and just smooth and very aesthetically pleasing. And I feel like regal is a very good descriptive word to wrap all that all into one.
Yeah.
Let's define regal, shall we?
You don't. Yeah, I already. It's like you could say like kingly or royal
Siri,
or.
Please define the word regal.
Regal means of resembling or fit for a monarch, especially in being magnificent or dignified.
Why is it Australian? Why is Siri Australian? I mean, I don't mind it, but I like Australia.
Listen, I bought an iPhone and it happened to come from Australia originally. I don't know.
Put another ship on to Bobby. Oh, this is not going to help with my Mr. Sunday movies. Trying to get him on the podcast. Come on, Mr. Sunday. Anyway. What was I gonna say? Oh, by the way, I liked how Wakanda looked. I did like the kind of blending where it's like, it was advanced technology, but they'd walk around and it was like, okay, clearly it's not like everybody's like
it's a city. Like the technology's there, but it's a city. Not all of it has been upgraded to platinum status, right?
Yeah. But I kind of wish
kept it to a minimum.
Yeah, I wish we could have gotten a little more. This might sound crazy. A little more fog. Now, at the end of Civil War, they kind of tease like the Black Panther statue like in fog. I kind of wish we could have gotten a shot or two of Wakanda on like a rainy day or something, because I think if you bathe that city in some fog and you kind of see like these really like shiny buildings and stuff, it's like, ooh, like it like looks so cool, in the sunlight, but also that mysteriousness I think would have lent itself better in the beginning of the film. They have to do the grand reveal of it, but like at the end, if they would have been like, this is Wakanda, the world will see Wakanda now. But like at the beginning, it would have been kind of cool to be like, I can't even see much of this place. Like, I don't know. I thought
they do make it kind of mysterious and almost, I don't want to say ominous because it's not supposed to be scary, but it's like, well, intimidating, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You feel that vibe out at the end of that movie when they took Winter Soldier there, but I feel like, I agree with you. I would have liked to have gotten a moment like that for the city and really, see how fortified and kind of.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to see too. Like, I'm thinking if they're like super advanced, there must be something Thanos does in Infinity War to like get through those defenses. Because I would think like if your shawls can be like cool shields, like what kind of like weaponry could you make to stop that, like any invading force?
Yeah, and so how's Wakanda involved in Infinity War? What would Thanos go there for?
Well, what would he go there for? What's the one thing you think? Or what's the other thing that could potentially be the only thing that he wants?
Is there an Infinity Stone there?
Could be. That's the rumor right now, is that maybe the last Infinity Stone is in Wakanda somewhere. Maybe in the Vibranium mine, maybe somewhere else. Maybe it's in like a vault.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I think they didn't play an Avengers trailer. I don't know if you got one, Joe, before the movie, but I didn't get a trailer before because
Oh,
they
I
kind of
did.
show Black Panther, and that one was like, get this man a shield. It's like, well, kind of undercut some of the tension of the film if they show that the main character of this movie is like clearly not going to die. Because like, oh yeah, he's going to be in this next one. It's come out in May, right? He's going to be. So that's why I think they didn't show that. But let's wrap this up, Joe. A favorite character? Do you have a favorite character in this film?
You don't tell me when to finish this stuff, huh? There's too much to talk about. We keep going, marching forward.
Who's your favorite character?
Who's my favorite character out of this film?
Yeah, man.
Killmonger, hands down.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Like this kind of redeems him from like the Fantastic Four stuff. That's not his fault, but I think he's a really good actor. I think he played this role really well.
That Fantastic Four movie? No, so I don't associate with him at all because I knew that was going to be a dud.
I like that, like his attitude. It makes sense. He does kind of go full evil. It doesn't really make sense like why he didn't kill Claw earlier, but I love just like, like we talked about this, like with the one line, he sees this mask and he's like, or Claw is like, is that Wakanda too? He's like, nah, I'm just feeling it. And then he just takes that mask and he wears it to break Claw out later. And I wish they would have shown that in the trailer because it would have been so good if he's like, hold on a second, let me put on that museum mask.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay that we saw a piece of that in the trailer, but we didn't know how.
Do you think it makes sense that he was able to fight one-on-one with T'Challa even though he didn't really have like melee combat training? I was thinking about this later on. I was like, he's trained in the military and stuff, which I'm sure they do hand-to-hand stuff. I don't want to like undercut that, but like Wakandan like spear and like sword fighting, I was like, that's a bit different.
I think there was more to him than that. That's why the CIA director kind of chimes in when they're reviewing his
files. Yeah,
because he was more than that. He was served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Then he was a Navy SEAL, and then or was a Navy SEAL at that time. Then he turned to special ops type stuff. And I mean, who knows? I mean, I can suspend disbelief for that. Obviously the guy's formidable. As I look at him, I mean, he was, no offense, Chadwick, but Michael B. Jordan. Wow. How can you forget Michael Jordan? The guy's jacked.
Yeah, I think that was
he's not a big guy, but he's in very good physical condition, and I mean, you could see it when he was up against T'Challa and they were fighting at the falls. I thought it was like, okay, I mean, they stand a chance against each other, but obviously I feel like somebody's got the upper hand here, and this has been his one primary focus for so long that's all he's done is train for this. So he was probably more prepared for that combat.
Maybe.
Because T'Challa, has he really, I mean, yeah, he's trained, he's done all this stuff, but is he really, he's got other primary focuses than just, I'm Black Panther, I fight.
That's true.
What I mean?
Yeah, but he's like been trained and brought up and he's fought in these things before. So that's why I thought like his sister's like, oh, clearly he's got this one. And I think it's good that he's not super duper ripped because I think it makes more sense for him to be like live, like he's supposed to kind of be like, not like, oh, I'm just like the biggest and strongest, but you're totally right. This guy did train for it. It just was kind of weird because I was thinking, well, he like knows how to shoot guns and do all that stuff really well, but does that mean he's really good at fighting people in a waterfall? Like, it's like, you've never done this before, and he does not do perfectly well against him. But yeah, I think it really comes down to, you're right. He does have a primary focus, whereas Black Panther, T'Challa kind of is like, I have to be a king and I have to be diplomatic. I'm not always fighting all the time. But when that guy's motivated, though, he won't stop. And I kind of wish we get a little bit of that in the car chase sequence, but from Civil War, that's what I think back to when he just chases Bucky. Like, he's just like, I will never stop. Like, he's like, I will hunt you down forever. And we don't get that as much in this one, but he doesn't have revenge, which is all right. But All right, so Killmonger's your favorite. Killmonger's good. I like Killmonger a lot. Good villain. Actually has good motivation.
Yeah, you understand why he's there, what led to this moment. But the one qualm I had with him, but it's justifiable. Sometimes I feel like the way he talked, you couldn't take it seriously because it's so, that whole like street slang. Sometimes it can come off very like immature and can't be taken seriously. It's kind of dumb. Like in my mind, I just don't have any respect for that kind of style of speaking.
I think it makes sense though, because he grew up in Oakland.
It does. That's why I say it's justifiable. But at moments, I was just kind of like, it's a little jarring, or it kind of takes you out of the moment a little bit. Like, did he just say, "I don't need no hour"? Like.
I like that because I think it's cool.
That's a bad example because that was okay, but it was like
there were moments.
I didn't see it again, but there were a few lines where I was just like tripping.
Yeah, I think it's on purpose.
When he's saying that, yeah, I think that was on purpose, just kind of because I think he's a little more serious than that, but.
Yeah, because he's not regal. Like when he goes and shows up in Wakanda, everybody's been talking like Your Majesty and doing all this stuff. Like it's very like this is how we fall. And he walks in and he's just like he'll say like nah, man. Like he would say that where no one would say. Yeah, he's just he's gonna go blunt. He's gonna be very concise and he's like I only have one goal and it's been to kill you, which seems kind of like a weird stretch because it's like he grew up in like. Okay, you okay over there? You dropping?
That was my charging cable, actually, so I better plug that back in.
That's probably a good thing.
Continue.
Yeah, I like him too. By the way, you brought up the CIA director Everett Ross. I think they did a good job of like bringing out some more of like his humanity in this one. Like he almost gives his life to stop vibranium from getting out of Wakanda because Killmonger does go kind of like super nuts at the end. He's like, we'll just send weapons to everybody around the world and we'll just have like a super uprising and we'll take over. And it's like, okay. All right, ease off maybe, but
I don't like what's his name again? Agent what?
Agent Everett Ross.
Yeah, he's okay, but like, is that who you expect as a CIA agent?
Yeah, I don't know. It's part of my fan theory that they had to get Bilbo and Gollum back in the same room. They're like, how do we do this?
No, he's almost a little too quirky and odd for my taste for a CIA agent. Like I mean, I get it, okay, smart and all that, but I expect somebody a little bit more like. But see, he would be a distraction if he was more like Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible.
I think more of like Rumlow from Winter Soldier, the guy who becomes Crossbones, that guy who's like that super ripped guy who's like helping Cap in the beginning. He's got like he's the black kind of spiky hair and like the beard and stuff like that. Is like a CIA, like I'm in the field. Like Everett Ross is like I was in the field 10 years ago. I've been behind a desk ever since, and I've been just doing paperwork. Like that's the vibe I got. Like he's like I haven't flown in a while, but I kind of remember how to do it. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay, Killmonger. This isn't my favorite character. I got to do a shout out to my boy Andy Serkis, Claw, one of the greatest living actors. He was even better in person. I absolutely loved his performance. Like he was a villain who loved being a villain. Like he'd get out of a situation and almost die, and he'd say, "Oh, that was awesome," or he's like, "Let's have some fun and let's just blow some stuff up." Like I loved the mayhem. Like he just embraced it, and I just wanted more of him because I thought he was just so good. Like he was really cool to see him play off Killmonger, like their little villain group. I was like, I like this group.
Yeah, that touch of zaniness that he brings it's entertaining. Yeah, and part of me is like, yeah, I would be walking out of that nightclub like it was awesome. Yeah. You see what I made it rain. Like it was all kind of, it was humorous, but it also shows how like downright reckless and what's the word?
Maniacal
off the rails he is. Yep. Like he's just kind of like wherever the coin falls as I flip them, whatever.
I'm just saying, just put him in your Black Widow movie just for a second. That's all I'm saying. But like they talk later on, and he's like, Killmonger says, "Drop me off Wakanda." He's like, "You don't want to go to Wakanda." Shows that scar. He's like, "This is what they do to people in Wakanda." And I wanted that sequence of him stealing vibranium from Wakanda back in the day in the movie. They hint at it. They show a little bit of video, but I would love to have seen him like in a truck, just like, I got it. I got the vibranium. How did he get in there? But yeah, I love him. I thought he was excellent. But I think my favorite character, and it's the one we don't really talk about as much, or I haven't talked about outside of the podcast much, but T'Challa himself. I think the thirst that I got after watching Civil War to see him in this a little bit more and not just be mysterious, which I love his stoic mysteriousness in that film.
Oh, I do too. It was a great introduction, I think.
I kind of want more of that, so it's kind of weird to see him be sad or be like super angry or whatever else, but it is cool to see him more as a fleshed out character. And I love that this is the first superhero I look at and say, man, his best quality is probably that he can be stoic and like he can think about a thing. Like he'll sit back and he's like, okay. Whereas everybody else, like almost all of our other superheroes are like, I'll act now, I'll think about it later. So it's like, I just love him. And I love seeing his journey. I love basically kind of going along with him to see Wakanda, not for the first time for him, but the first time for us. And it feels like it's a new world for him because not only is he becoming the king of this place, but he is becoming the representative to the entire world, which his outfit at the UN also looked great too. But his relationships he establishes with everyone, with his mom, who is great, with the general, with his the love interest. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like when his sister saying like, was his sister or the general? Someone was like, "Are you sure it's good to bring your ex on a mission with us?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's probably."
It was his sister, and he's like, "Well, don't worry, you'll be there. You'll be." I'm just bumping in the crap all night tonight. Don't worry, you'll be there for backup in case we need it or whatever. So,
I think the movie's got some good set pieces. I don't think the action is. I think it's good. I don't think it's not as hard hitting as like the Russo brothers stuff. Like when he was fighting Winter Soldier, like I feel like you can feel that more, and every attack from him felt like a death blow. Like it was it's like, oh my god, like good thing you dodged that because like that would have killed you for sure. So he has some fight scenes, here that are pretty good. I do like watching the tussle between him and Killmonger, even though it is that phase 1 Marvel formula of like, here's a villain who's like an insane version of yourself with the same powers, but like when they're both like they both explode the kinetic energy, it's like the purple and the gold and all mixed together, and you're like, wow, like that's a good way to bring in some visual representation into a fight that without that might not have been as overstimulating. You'd have been like, oh, it's just two guys fighting. But like the train sequence at the end and with the vibranium kind of dampeners and all that stuff, I thought it was really good. And how he won and how Killmonger didn't, like, that relationship was cool because I was thinking the same thing at the end. Like, he kind of says to him, he says to Killmonger, like, hey, we could probably still save you. And Killmonger's like, nah, like, I'm live in a prison for the rest of my life. He's like, I'm going to go out on my terms. So I'm like, I respect that. Like, both those characters, I think they fought for the spotlight, but they were both right there. And I thought that's a really hard thing to accomplish in a movie, to have your villain and your hero kind of share a scene equally. Like, but the whole cast is great. I just go see it. Like, it's a good movie. It's not perfect. Like I said, it kind of drags a little bit. But I don't know if that's really a huge complaint. And I want to see another villain that opposes him. I think that's why Claw's here, to be like have a weapon or an ability that nobody else has. Because like I'm just getting kind of sick of watching two people with the exact same power set fight each other. I'm like, okay, Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket, like like Cap versus Winter Soldier. I like those fights, but it's like there's not too much more you can do after you see it once. Yeah. So yeah, I still think it's really good. I think it's solid, and I think everybody should go see it. Music's great, looks great. It's great.
Yeah. So I'll give it a strong 9. And to find out what Jimmy gave it, you better go check out his review.
Check out the review. Oh, which, by the way, Levi, he wanted to be here this week, but couldn't be, and he sent me a little review. But here's what he has to say. He says, Black Panther puts a fresh spin on the tried and true Marvel origin story. With its much different message and characters / setting, this is definitely a standout in the ever-growing Marvel universe. Mm-hmm. Like a little blurb from Levi there. Thank you so much.
Nice little blurb and statement. I liked it.
All right, Joe. Well, that just means it's time to get into that segment of the show that I like to call, that you like to call, that we like to call.
We like to call Time Killers.
That's right. It's time for Time Killers. It's the games we've been watching, the movies we've been playing, the TV shows we've been viewing, the cookbooks we've been trying to read. Yes! Besides Black Panther, Joe, what have you been killing time with?
Yeah, so Black Panther, killed a lot of time talking about it, podcasting about it, watching it was great. Monster Hunter World has been consuming my every free hour. If I get a chance to play before bed, before even on work nights. Oh man, I'm on. The grind is real. I don't want to call it a grind because it's inappropriate. It makes it sound like it's grueling and tough and annoying. It's not. I keep wanting to excel at it. I keep wanting to discover new things, and new just nooks and crannies to explore. It is a great time, and so many different features and aspects to that game. I love it. And speaking of aesthetics in Black Panther, the aesthetics in this game, the designs and cool features are just mind blowing. And there's always something new. And I'm don't tell my fiance, but I'm 80 hours into the game, almost 100, I think, something like that, 90.
Catching up to me. Dang.
Yeah. I like it. But so there's that. I watched Justice League again. I bought it last week. Haley and I watched it. I don't know if that was before the podcast last week or not, but I don't know if I mentioned it last week. But watched it again. It doesn't. There's something about a theater, man. You cannot. You cannot duplicate that feeling. The money it would take to do so and build your own in-home theater that's big enough and gives you the vibe, it's hard to do. But
Life goal.
Yeah, life goal for sure. Like big ass basement, bunch of theater seats, giant screen, tall ceiling, dark, homey, vending machine out front. Ooh. It's just Justice League was great in the theater. I walked out of that one feeling great, and I had a little bit of a high. I know when I would go away from a movie with a high that I liked it. Black Panther gave me that. Wonder Woman gave me that. Justice League gave me that. And Civil War, I had that a little bit in other movies. But Justice League, rewatching it on my home screen TV, 60-inch, 4K, it was great. I liked it. I like all the special features. It's heart-ripping that they cut some of these scenes that I wanted, but I'm still okay with what it was. I'm glad I at least get to know what could have been, I guess. Or maybe it's torture. I don't know. But, watching it at home again, maybe it loses a little bit of luster. I maybe dropped the score a little bit. Like, I don't remember what I gave it, but if I gave it a 9.5, I'd drop it to like a 9. Or if I gave it a 9, I'd drop it to an 8.5. There were some things that could have been done better for sure in that movie, but I still like it. I like the characters. I like the cast. It's good. But so watch that with Haley. What else did I do? There's other things. I guess not worth mentioning. Oh, Battlefield 1. Haley's been playing that like off and on for the past couple weeks, and she keeps talking about it, and she'll send me a photo like, look what I did today. I'm like, I just laugh, and I'm like, I love you. But I get home, she's playing, I'll dabble in it for a couple kills or half a match, and I'm like, man, as I watch that game, like, that is a good looking game. The quality is top notch. There's some glitches here and there, but it's a big game. Like, the maps are huge. There's a lot of players in one session, and a lot going on. But excuse me, really good looking game, and it's fun. It really is. Realistic as all get out. It's a little bit on a different tier than COD is. But yeah, that's it for me. On to you, pal. What you got?
Besides Monster Hunter World, which I will just tell everybody, I know it's been a long time. Thank you for being patient with the review. I recorded the review today. I got credits last night. Stayed up way too late doing something I just needed to see the end of, and I saluted the screen and I clapped. It was a beautiful moment. I even was starting to tear up a little bit. The music is so good in that game. Anyway, I'm finishing up like the first season of Dragon Ball Z. It was on loan to me from a friend, and it's good. I can see why people like it. It's a bit dated now because this came out like a few decades ago, I think. But yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot of screaming. I thought people were joking about the screaming. People are not joking about the screaming. There's a lot of time of just like, ah! And this is before the Super Saiyan stuff, before they have to charge it up. So they'll charge, they'll like, ah! And then they'll do a cool thing, and then it'll be done, and then they'll talk for a bit, and then they'll charge up again, like someone else charges up. But then once in a while, someone will just shoot a laser beam, and I'm like, you had to charge to shoot that other laser beam, which it did, it did seem stronger. But like sometimes, because I skipped Dragon Ball, I was told to skip Dragon Ball. Some of the stuff in this show doesn't make sense to be like, one of these guys, he just blows up the moon. He's like, oh, I got to blow up the moon because I don't want these Saiyans to turn into gigantic great apes or whatever. I'm like, you blew up the moon with a laser beam. But when you're in a fight with somebody, you could shoot them with that same laser beam and they're like totally fine. So like the constitution that these people are made up of must be so strong. It's stronger than a moon. So I'm like sitting there like going, but then they also have like anthropomorphic animals. They're like a cat that's just talking, or a dog that's just like the head of police. And I'm like, can we just get back to the fighting? Like I'm like,
sounds horrible.
But it's not, because the fights are good. It is iconic. It's cool to see like the first kind of major fighting anime in the West and see why people were so excited about it. I've heard the Frieza stuff is even better, so I'm excited to see where this goes because it's something I missed out on as a kid. I didn't have Cartoon Network, so it's cool to see this, and voice acting's pretty good. The effects are pretty good, and the nice thing is I'm at like the earliest stage I'm ever going to be with this, so it's hopefully only going to get better with time because I find with animation that if you go back and you can stomach like the first couple episodes as far as a visual standpoint, then you're okay. Like you can get through the rest of it, but if you can't, then like maybe check out. But yeah, it's good, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But I know a little bit about Dragon Ball Z, so I know like Vegeta, the guy they're fighting, he inevitably becomes like a friend. And so that's kind of like, I'm like, okay, he's a bad guy, but he'll probably be a good guy. They do kill people in this show, which I didn't think would happen, Joe. Like they're killing people. And like they can't bring everybody back all the time because they have the Dragon Balls can like bring people back, but they can only work once. And so it's like, okay. But like some people actually died. And I'm like, oh, are they like dead? And like, yeah, they're like dead. I'm like, what? Like, like that doesn't happen in usually like in the stuff I watch. Like it'll be like, oh, he almost died, but he's back. He's fine. So yeah, I've been enjoying that. So it's been weird because it's like super, it's like loud. It's like really quiet. They'll just be talking like this a lot, kind of doing their thing, and they'll just and it's like oh god, we're screaming again.
Calm down.
It's like the veins are just like, and like these people are just getting so ripped. They're like, I can't get any more ripped, and it's like, oh man, I love it. It's just like that classic anime where they just scream out a name of an attack, and that's the attack. Like you could just like, I could make up an attack and be like super destruction ray of death, like, and it would be a move. Like I just made up a move, but it's all energy beams. It's all, I don't know what the difference between energy beams is. Like sometimes mountains will explode, sometimes they won't. Like anyway, I've been enjoying it. It's been great. It's good. Okay, we're moving on to community feedback and questions. All right, Joe, are you ready for this? You ready for questions? Huh? Oh, anyway. So I wanted to ask the Legionnaires what they thought of Black Panther. Not too many people went out and saw it yet, but I think some people, from the ones I did hear about, they did really like it. Ryan, he wrote in, he asked us who our favorite Black Panther characters were. You said Killmonger. I said Black Panther, T'Challa.
Killmonger, for sure.
But he asked, or he said this, he said, I really enjoyed Black Panther. Good action and backstory of the villain. Look at that, Joe.
Well said, Ryan. Well said.
Ryan's all over it. He knows. He knew you'd like to hear that, Joe. He's
is he saying his favorite character was Killmonger?
He didn't say, but we'll just say that he said that.
Tweet us, Ryan. I want to know.
Ryan, we got to know who's your favorite one. And if you guys do see it, please tweet us a review or tweet us like your favorite character. We want to know who your favorite is and what you thought of the film. All right. Time for questions, though, Joe. If you could take, this comes in from Missile Mage, or #Critical Podcast, that's how you reach us. If you could take any 5 moments or any moments of history to talk about as if they just happened on the podcast, what moments would you choose? Now, I think what we should do, Joe, is because we are an entertainment podcast, we probably shouldn't like go into like tragedies and stuff, like real world tragedy. I don't know. I don't want to put like a spin on it. Because like when I thought of this originally, my first thought was like, I would love to come and do the show with you after I saw like Fellowship of the Ring for the first time and just be like, what did I even just what did I even just watch? Or like Jurassic Park, and just be like, did you just Joe? What did we just
Back when
see?
that was like such an original idea. I mean, yeah, Lord of the Rings books and all that, but man, yeah, those were so original at the time, like something never before seen or done.
To that extent.
Dinosaurs, to that extent, yeah, this is realistic portrayals of dinosaurs interacting with humans and in a scary and horrific way. Oh man, that would have been great. So JP1 for show. If we're gonna stick with entertainment type stuff, video games, I don't quite know what to do. I wasn't into video games till I was like 19-ish.
It'd be fun to go and talk about like the N64 right as it came out, because it'd be like, well, 3D graphics. You look at this stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
The Game Boys. I mean, the one video game that I always had growing up, I got into the Game Boys when they first, or probably right around the tail end of when the big bricky Game Boy was the big deal.
Oh, yeah.
I had one of those for a little bit, and then I immediately went to the Game Boy Color. But those were a big deal.
Pokemon Blue and Red would be really fun after we like beat it and be like,
That's true. Playing it together, like, yeah, you may not be like interacting on the screen together,
we
but
trade. We could trade battle.
Could do the system thing.
Yeah, link cable, dude.
That was something. How did they ever, like, they had that planned ahead of time that here we have these ports and we're gonna come out with a cable. You guys will be able to, like, the Game Boy almost revolved around Pokemon.
Oh man, yeah. And I had a twin sister, so it worked out really well.
Yeah,
like, perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. Another one I could think of, like, movies wise, is either like Star Wars for me or like Alien for you. Like for the first time, like seeing some of that stuff, being like,
yeah,
like,
I remember. My mom still talks about that. Like, I think she went to that when she was a teenager, because it, or maybe no, I was a little older than that. Yeah, it came out in 70 something.
79, I think. It was like 2 years after Star
So
Wars.
She would have been like maybe 20, maybe ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, she remembers going to see that with her girlfriends or something like that, and she remembers like people literally like stood up and walked out because they were so scared, or there were people kind of whimpering, or people were freaked out at that first one. But yeah, that would be cool. That'd be cool.
Trying to think of other TV.
That's a
not
tough
so much.
questions. I haven't been. And it's hard to hone in just on entertainment stuff. I haven't been around long enough or experienced enough in my short 27
Even if it
years.
weren't entertainment, I think it'd be hard. If I wanted to go outside of that, maybe like if you could go like further back.
The writing of the Declaration of Independence, I would have loved to discuss that right after the fact.
Have you guys seen?
What about this right to bear arms thing, Jimmy? What do you think?
That John Hancock, he's got a great signature. That's all I'm trying to say.
I hear that's not even his real name.
He's a liar. I would have loved to have like followed Walt Disney's career podcast for him, and then like talk about the opening of Disneyland or Disney World.
When they just started building the park.
Like, that would be pretty cool to be like, yeah, Disney decided to take Disneyland's concept and then blow it up to an insane size in Florida. What? Like, it'll never work. Be like,
all the neighborhoods in Florida are being demolished. They're building over top of all these neighborhoods. They're killing alligators all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that, if we're going outside. It's still kind of entertainment-ish, though.
Yeah, it is. We talk about stuff like that. It's associated in a larger scale.
Yeah.
Broad view.
Yeah, but those are the ones I think that come to mind first. Other games, though, maybe like Gears of War, the first one, because it was kind of the jump from standard def to high def, and I would be talking about chainsawing through things and be like, it's incredible. Like, it feels weird to do it, but I like it.
Like, this seems so gory and wrong, but I love it.
I love it so much. It feels so weird, but it's so good.
I must make one.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, Gears, man. Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind right away. What a great question, though. Thank you, Mr. Mage. That's a strong one. Joe, I think we should wrap it up there because we're getting close to 2 hours worth of just pure beautiful content, and I think this week we've done some good work here today.
We've had some long podcasts lately, 2
I
hours.
know,
Damn,
yeah. Well, I just we
well,
start talking.
that my 47 meters down deal. Yeah,
That
that probably
was
helped out
true.
last week's.
Next time you start getting into a synopsis, I'm surprised Justice League was like a 25. Be like, and then Superman showed up. His face isn't right.
Like you could totally see stubble. Like they couldn't get rid of all the facial hair. There was a little bit of stubble there.
I'm gonna demand you see Mission Impossible Fallout just so you can see your boy Henry
I probably
Cavill.
will see that. I saw the last one. It didn't like stun me or anything, but or dazzle me. But
You gotta see Ghost
they're
Protocol.
good.
You gotta see Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, I did.
Oh wait, Rogue Nation was the last one.
I think I've seen them both.
Okay, then that's fine. That's all I care about. I like 3. 3 is good. I like them all. 1's kind of weird. I'm just gonna say that. Some people like 1. 1's a little. It's iconic, but it's I don't know.
Yeah, with 1 being out there, how'd they ever get to 2 and 3? We don't know.
I don't even know. Anyway, if you ever have a question, a topic, or a game you want us to play here on the podcast, you can just tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to either of us. Well, actually, you can tweet at Go Critical for just critical reviews in general, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. If you want to tweet at Joe, though, you can tweet at
Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
Exactly. If you want to see us playing games every once in a while, check back in on the weekdays over on twitch.tv/critical reviews. I said Monday and Thursday for a while. It's maybe Tuesday and Friday now. Just check in there. We're trying to reach a goal eventually so we can have like a set schedule. That's a Patreon thing. I'll talk about that in a second. I want to thank This Is Dale for our wonderful music that we have at the beginning and the ending of the show here. And I also want to thank the one and only Joran Evers, the guy who does pretty much all the art you see here on the show. If you ever want a commission done of pretty much anything, you should find him over at Jade Circle Art or at Niraj28 over on Twitter, or check out his Instagram too. But if you want to support Joran and you want to support this show, support us doing this every week, all the time, check us out on patreon.com/critical reviews. So you can get this podcast early if you're at $5 and up. If you just donate at $1, though, you get like a little bonus. Like you get to see some maybe behind the scenes stuff every once in a while. I'll throw something up there on Patreon. Check it out, share it around. We're trying to grow, and we're trying to get to 250 a month, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I mean, it is a lot. People that's donating their hard-earned money to this. But then once we get to that one, we'll get to a set streaming schedule. But get a cool customized avatar and all that jazz, which is really cool. Nobody else does that I know of, but I haven't really checked. Anyway, yeah, I think that about does it. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Again, we want to hear your Black Panther reviews. Leave it in the comments down below. Let us know how you're liking the show. Let us know if there's anything you want to see change and stuff. We always love hearing your feedback, whatever it is, regardless. Tweet at us day or night, anytime, comment. I read all those comments. I reply to all those comments. So please hit us up. We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, thank you, Joe, once again for being on the show. 101, baby. We've done
Always
it.
a pleasure, pal.
Yeah, well, it's always a pleasure for me too. Thank you guys so much. Love and hugs to all of you. And just remember to adapt and overcome. And Wakanda forever.
Ah.